Shut up and sit down.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
When I'm on my bike, I can do the things I like. When I'm on my bicycle,
I look like a jackass.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way, like an improv conversation, improvisation.
You are listening to the Dial Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hapler, and Jake Von Turing. We all have two lives. The second one begins when we realize that we only have one. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, man, the dang old boy ain't right. Man, I'm gonna talk about don't kick them dang old ass. Man, I don't take...
For God's sakes, Hank, act like an adult, man.
just try to run and listen.
Well, you know, Bobby, I told time don't take from me, man. It don't life too short, man. You don't want to hold no grudge, man. I thought, man, you gonna let old bygones be bygones, man.
Hi, and welcome to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing, and I'm here with Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking fantastic today. Absolutely fantastic.
To his left, Mr. Evan Price.
That was a Matt was good with his timing there because like Jake had a delay there for a second. It was like we turned on and then usually Jake's like right into it, boom. But there was a delay there, so I had to wait for it for a second.
Wait for it.
I had to wait for
Wait
it.
for it. We're starting a podcast.
So today we are drinking a lot of Fit Aid at the table.
Yeah.
I think I've already gotten through like 3 today maybe. We had
You are
our
crushing it.
our one of our favorite listeners and frequent person in the Dialed Endurance Lab, Carlos, gave us a bunch of Fit Aid recently, and he like keeps us, you know, well fed and well drank all the time. He's the greatest guy ever, and this Fit Aid I'm liking. It's a lot better than the energy drink crap that I drink. On a
Speaking of
regular
Carlos,
basis.
he was the man yesterday.
Oh, he was
and
the man.
we can
The
get back
absolute
in.
man.
We can
Yeah,
get into this in the back.
There were quite a few
like,
people who were
but,
the person
yeah,
yesterday. But
that
yeah.
was amazing. He
Carlos
was like
awesome.
he
Carlos
was
and his
super helpful.
Yeah, Carlos
for
and Colleen are incredible. They're
Yeah.
so awesome.
good people
Good
for sure.
folks. Yep. Mm-hmm. Sporting a lot of that Sierra Nevada stuff yesterday. I saw
know.
too. That was nice
Yeah.
of them. So.
I got to see her Nevada mask right now, actually.
Oh, nice.
Live on location, Lance Hepler.
Hey guys, it is Lance Romance. I am on location. I am sitting in a little parking lot in Park City, Utah. So me and the dog and the wife in the van.
Like you do.
If people want to
Like-
find you in Park City, where do they look? Where do they
Just-
look for the barn?
Next to abandoned barns. Yeah.
We're next to the very famous, it's called the McPullen Barn. It's like the famous barn in Park City, Utah off the main highway, whatever. I don't know.
Where
Is
will
it
you
McPullen, Brandy? McPullen Barn.
Where will you be when the podcast comes out on Wednesday?
I might still be in the Salt Lake area, but I'm not sure. That's a big question.
What
I'm
what
visiting
elevation?
Kids, I'm somewhere at elevation.
No, but where do you think you are right now? Are you at like 5,000 feet or higher than that?
I think-
Park City's high, right?
I think Park City's close to 6,
Yeah, that sounds
almost 7,000 feet. I'm not sure.
Doing some altitude
I think-
training for the cross season? Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. There's no cross. That's the only reason why I'm in Utah in September. Normally, I do not leave the state of Oregon through all of September and October and part of November because of cross season. But this year, that's not happening. So
Yeah.
Dang it.
my wife
Dang it,
and I are
COVID.
out screwing around.
You're taking Lance away from us, COVID-19.
1 year ago today was the Nincrossi race.
Oh.
I saw my pictures pop up in my little
Oh,
time hop feed thing this morning. Oh, that's sad. Bummer.
yeah.
Cool. How about some backpedaling? Lance, why don't you start us off since you've been having fun?
Well, I have had some fun. I still am on track on the Dialed 100. I've rode every day.
Had a kid?
We still had some ugly smoke for the first part of the week in the Portland area, and so I rode indoors, and I was so sick and tired of riding indoors. So that was another thing that prompted my wife and I to finally just get out and leave. So we packed up and we started to head west on the day when it rained and things started to clear out. So we started to head east. We stopped in Hood River, and my wife and I had this fantastic ride along the bike path that goes from Hood River, Oregon to the Dalles, Oregon. It is just, it's phenomenal. The sky had like parted, and there was, we were there at sunset. And so, oh my gosh, we just got some great pictures and just had a fantastic time. So that was very nice. We kept moving eastward. We actually ended up in Mountain Home, Idaho, where I went to do a 50-mile ride. My wife dropped me off at one spot, and she drove 50 miles down the highway. I was going to meet her there. I had like a 14-mile-an-hour tailwind for this straight shot. It wasn't on the freeway, but it was kind of along the freeway, and oh my gosh.
You passed your wife. And
Did you beat her?
I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you at the end.
This story better end with
right.
you beat her.
She was like, "What? You're here already?" She was painting. She's done some fantastic paint stuff while we've been traveling. Yeah, I caught up to her pretty quick. But yeah, there was like a 24-mile segment that I averaged almost 30 miles an hour on.
You're basically the Tour de France peloton there. Good job.
Yeah, it was super fun to ride really, really fast like that on the road bike. So that was good. What else did we do? We ended up driving to a place called City of Rocks National Reserve. It is a world-renowned rock climbing area. And we drove up into the rocks where all the rock climbers were, and we camped up there for the night. And we woke up and had this beautiful hike in the morning. And then there were these beautiful gravel roads all over the place that my wife and I rode some gravel roads for like an hour and a half on. And that was just very cool. So, we're just screwing around. Now we're down in Utah in the Salt Lake area, and I'm going to ride with my buddy Jason Woodland today, and for the next day or two. He's kind of a crusher. He just did Lotaja, and I think he took 4th in his age division in Lotaja.
Wow.
So
dang.
Yeah, he is. So I'm supposed to ride with him this afternoon, and I'm afraid he's going to make me hurt. So that should be fun.
For those that don't know what Lotaja is, it's a 200-mile. Is that what it is? Race?
It's like 203 miles. It's from Logan, Utah to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So that's where the Lotaja comes from.
Our very own Andy Levine crushed that race.
Yeah.
Was he there last year too?
He's done it the last 3 years that I know.
Last 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He rides his bike fast.
So. Yep. Cool.
So that's enough for me. I'm just gonna be riding bikes with my wife and the dog and hanging out, and we're having fun.
Cool. Mr. Matt LeGrand, Backpedal.
I spent so I guess I should start with saying I'm still a go on the Dialed 100. I have no idea what day we're on.
Today will be 34.
If I get out, I still have to get today and make that happen. I don't have the tour to watch anymore, so that's gonna put a dent in my Zwifting. I literally think that someone's gonna have to tell me when to stop. And if you guys don't tell me to stop, I'm just gonna keep going every day and assume that I have to ride because
Dial 365.
It's just one of those things where it's gonna be like, every time I kind of chat with someone, like, what day are we on? What day are we on? Every single time that I talk to someone, what day are we on? I have no idea. Yeah. I'm not keeping track of it. Just
gotta put in your description so you can go back and look.
Yeah, I need to do that because that's what you guys, the smart people, are doing. Yeah, so I guess I've been on Zwift every day pretty much, watching the tour. That's not the most exciting backpedal. I also swam a couple of times. Oddly enough, and this is weird, I think it was on Friday, I had the pool to myself. 8 lanes.
Seriously?
I was by myself. And
I have to Iron Man style register for a time slot every single time.
Yeah, I did have to register for a spot, but this makes no sense, right?
Did you swim them all?
I should have. That would have been great to kind of go up and down overall.
You should have done like a snake swim. all the way through them. I did a triathlon once. I was a snake swim in a pool. It was cool. Yeah.
I always feel weird when I'm in there and I'm trying to like film something, and I was playing around with some new camera stuff. I have this like water tripod thing that I was playing around with, and it's always weird when there's someone else in the water.
A water tripod?
Yeah,
Wait a
it's
second. Are
cool.
you putting your good camera on that and floating in the water?
Yeah.
No.
Oh God, that's
what
what
making me really nervous.
That's
there
what
for
I
a
was
second.
picturing was like a floating
It
mount.
is. It's
See some
it
little
is
kid
a
running in from
floating
the side and
tripod.
doing a cannonball. And
And what's really cool about it is it can float upside down, so that there's like a tripod floating and there's camera underwater.
What?
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool little toy, and I had kind of got it on a whim, and
I need to come over. And, Lacamus isn't letting over non-members anymore, right?
that's the thing. Is
Can I sneak in the back door? I just announced
Yeah.
it on the podcast.
Let's
But
do
yeah,
it.
can I?
We'll sneak you in. We'll parachute you in.
Parachute me
to
in
the fence. But yeah, it's weird to have 8 lanes empty. Like that's not
That's very rare.
not
there.
good. I don't think. I feel like it should be like we should be maxing out these
Cascades.
pools.
Cascades pretty crowded.
Oh yeah, it's swamped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty
So anyway, that was kind of disappointing, but at the same time, I was like, well, I got the pool to myself. I'm gonna film a little bit of nothing because I don't have a pool product to review specifically. I do have some open water stuff that I need to do still. So think about that.
Do you want to practice 50 fly with me this off season?
You want to like go for like a 50
I was
fly PR?
literally joking with Matty Wick and a couple other people that I think this season, this off season, I'm just going to work on 50 fly.
I think that'll be fun.
I've got the fly kick down now. I mean, it's terrible, but you know, I've got it
Lance,
down.
do you want to backpedal some more?
Jake, I'm not here to save you, Jake. I'm sorry, I'm not there to save you.
This is a swimming podcast.
This is.
switching to-
Didn't you know that we're trending on swimming?
We're swimming. This is a swimming podcast.
Unfortunately, they are correct.
Did you hear that, Lance?
I know. I'm gonna go away now.
You know, Lance, you actually weren't that far away from a triathlon that was this weekend, the Bear Lake race. How far are you from? Were you from Bear Lake when you were in Idaho? I have no idea where Bear Lake is, but
Bear Lake is actually on the border between. It's half in Idaho and half in Utah.
Oh,
so it
okay.
is-
Oh man,
Yeah.
you're there.
Yeah.
Right
So
there, man.
I'm not too far from it.
you
which
should have
means
gone and
I'm
watched the drama, man. It was a great race.
Triathlon.
No, I didn't do it. No.
I ran loops around my cul-de-sac because I had my wife was
Nice.
out of town and I was watching kids.
Was
And
Ethan riding with you?
Nope, he was out of town with my wife. We went to Seattle.
Oh, he was.
And so yeah, my title on that Strava was like 16 laps of the mile. It's because it's like that, and so you just
It's
do
like
a loop
200
and
meter
loop.
loop, basically.
Yeah, so
It's like an indoor track.
it was great. And then the most exciting ride by far was going out to watch Evan. I'll let Evan tell his his back pedal or whatever. But
Exciting is a strong word there. But you and Cassie had a little throwdown on the way
we
back.
totally did.
On the way
We
back to
did.
the parking lot.
So
yeah.
I hammered out to get to you, and then rode with you, and then Cassie and I hammered back, and I was like really pumped because I was looking at my wattage. I'm just like, so this is out at Vancouver Lake, and it's just pancake flat, and you just sit there and you're trying to get aero tuck a little bit, and you're just staring at your wattage, and I was holding like 230 to 250, and I was like, that's pretty good. I've been hanging out at 100 on all of my
Hey,
all
maybe
of
the
my
Zone 1
rides.
training's working.
This don't push hard on your pedals is makes it tough. But so I did that, and I was just like cooking for like 10 minutes, and I was like, all right, well, I probably dropped Cassie, and I kind of like do one of these kind of turn to the right to kind of see like where her shadow is or whatever. Didn't see her shadow. I'm like, all right, ease up a touch, and she'll get back on. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case. She had already kind of come around me on the outside, and had and as I kind of had turned, she dropped
fate
me.
attacked you. Yeah, she got you.
And if you I looked at this just this morning. I looked at the power profile of the ride. I spike up to like 500 to get back on our wheel. I mean, it was like she just dropped me.
She's got pretty springy attacks. She will not say this to anybody 'cause she's entirely too on board with cycling, but she's got a lot of ability on the bike as a bike racer. Like, she really does.
She's really strong.
Let's do something about that.
Yeah, she's
going to
consider
race
bike
bikes
racing.
this next year.
Yeah, she's
Quitting
really,
triathlon?
She's going to. I don't think she's going to quit triathlon, but she's definitely going to race
on,
bikes.
Cassie.
She's for sure going to race bikes. This
She's
next year.
really
Yeah.
quite strong on the bike. I realized that I was holding her back the whole time on that little trip, and I'm kind of glad that she didn't drop me, but I think she could have pretty much whenever she wanted to. So I appreciate that. But it was super fun to have a little go there, and that was the only ride outside this week because it's been really smoky here.
It was a beautiful day.
And
Sunday,
then
at least. Yeah.
this morning, all I've done is like work this morning, and then get in the car to come here, and immediately noticed the smoke again today. And I was like, well, I got outside yesterday.
We just spiked back up to 100 outside, so
it's So
we don't talking AQI numbers, by the way. Now, if anybody's wondering, we don't talk in temperature anymore. I could care less what the temperature is outside. Everybody's like, "What is it? 120 today?" Okay, it's 23. It's like, wow, their temperature jumps around all over
the
like,
place.
No, we talk AQI these days.
And I was planning on riding outside today just because I thought, like, well, this is this is finally a time for us to be able to go do something outside. And
I was hoping to get on the gravel bike when I was done with work today. And
I don't think I want to do it in 100.
Ride loops around the clinic. There you go.
That could be fun. So, Matt, you've done 33 rides in a row.
Okay.
Are you feeling...
That's what you're telling me. I believe it.
Are you feeling any benefits from that? Are you feeling like your fitness is starting to kind of come back to life a little bit?
I don't know about... It's hard to say because I think it is. I need to do... I didn't really want to do an FTP when my FTP was, 73.
You should wait to on the 101st day do an FTP test.
Sure, we could do that.
That'd be kind of cool.
Or I could do one now and then do one and see if I progress.
We should get everybody who's done the dialed 100. Then the next challenge is do an FTP test on that next week after the full dialed 100.
But I'm feeling more punchy on my Zwift rides and stuff like that. So that's been good. I've been doing the little sprints or whatever.
There you go.
I think yesterday I hit 600, maybe 600. I don't think I hit 700 watts on a little sprint.
That's good indoor watts, though. Indoor watts are not.
It's not.
Will you transition into a training program during this at all, or do you think you're just going to kind of stay the course?
I'm considering that because, my strategy of keeping every day easy was mostly to get to the point where I feel like I'm not going to hurt myself and I can stay consistent. I do feel like now I could potentially do a hard workout and then the next day still be fine to ride an easy hour.
Yeah.
And so, I could do that. I was thinking all right, well, maybe I should do 1 to 2 workouts before I do an FTP test. Mm-hmm. Just because you kind of need to get back used to hurting a little bit.
Yeah. You need to do a couple, at least 2-3 couple 5-minute efforts to get that taste back.
But then I think if I don't do that and I ignore that, then my jump in FTP will be bigger, which is also fun.
That's true. Yeah.
And in all honesty, none of that stuff matters that much. I know my FTP has significantly declined from when it was probably at its peak.
What was your peak? Yeah.
My peak was only about
3.
No. That's always been a goal, is to hit 300.
Yeah.
My peak is always, I think my max peak was somewhere 283 or somewhere in that kind of range.
Nice.
So,
I take issue with that, though. I do, because I've ridden with you out at Vancouver. When we used to do those Monday night rides, that was a good 10 minutes out and a good 10 minutes back. Granted, we would stop in the middle, but it might even be longer than that.
But those are...
You and I were putting out some big numbers.
Yes, that's true.
And granted, it's outdoors versus
indoors. Those are outdoor watts, and I am a bad... my numbers drop off pretty bad indoors compared to outdoors. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing yesterday when I was riding with Cassie. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's why you were so
hold
surprised
200s.
You haven't seen those
and I go
numbers,
inside and I'm like, I can't hold 200 for 10 minutes. No way. I mean, I'm going to have to for an FTP test, but whatever. Yeah. So anyway, I definitely think I have a big difference between indoor and outdoor wattage. I tend to try and kind of call my FTP my indoor specific whatever wattage this is for this specific workout so that it's comparable year to year. What I could do is find a hill that's 20 minutes long and have that be my, kind of.
Are you still talking to her?
That'd be a bigger number. So bigger numbers, better numbers.
Gotcha. Yeah, we could find a good.
It's 20 minutes is tricky, but
because Larch or Livingston
Larch is
really aren't
it's so
good
close
climbs for that.
Well, it's not that bad because I've probably
time wise it's good, but it's the style of the climb isn't great for a 20-minute test. Oregon Larch is perfect.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
anyway, yep, I should do some working out. I should probably do that. We'll see.
I'm just happy to see you back riding.
Yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Evan, you had a day yesterday, and you've had a week.
I had a pretty boring weekend.
Why don't you?
I got to see you out there. It was fun.
I got to see everybody here. Except for Lance. Lance was out gallivanting in Utah and Idaho and having a blast on location. So this last week, we basically spent all week preparing for the weekend, which was going to be our kind of COVID dialed triathlon weekend. So what that consists of basically is we decided Frenchman's Bar, which is a beach on the Columbia River out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, was where we were going to do the race. So we were going to race in the Columbia River. we were going to bike along the road that Matt was just talking about, which is basically a road between Vancouver Lake and Columbia River. It's this road that kind of snakes in between them, and where we do a ton of time trialing out here. And then the run was going to be on the same course. So on Saturday, we had a bunch of our juniors go out and race, which was really, in my opinion, the most fun part of the weekend. It was cool to see kids who have kind of had their race season taken from them get to go out there and go pretty hard. And we had some kids who, I think Natalie Moser's younger brother had never done a triathlon before, and he made it through the whole sprint triathlon.
Good.
Natalie made it through her whole triathlon too. Maddie Witt went out there and killed it like she usually does, and Adam Raymond was part of the relay. So we had the kids do, first they did an individual race, and then after that, Maddie had organized teams for a relay. So we did a relay right after that.
That's fun.
Which was a lot of fun. The relay
Was that
was
her
fun.
idea?
Yeah. It was her.
She's
it was
a
her
cool.
idea.
She's a cool person.
She's gonna whatever she does in the future, whether it's
President of the United
surgeon,
States.
president of the United States, or
Something.
the greatest community organizer ever, because she's very good at organizing. But we also had some guests from Corvallis, which was really cool.
Oh.
A kid named Keller Norland and his younger brother Alec were out there, and Keller is a stud in the ITU Draft Legal racing, and is somebody who races for Strive Triathlon right now, and has been great friends with the Wick family for a long time. They came up from Corvallis, and he's clearly very fast. He wasn't even training lately and threw down a crazy fast time. So fun to see the kids go out there and have a good time. Elijah Engstrom was out there too, just killing it on the bike like he usually does. And it was a lot of fun on Saturday, and thank God the air quality cleared up. We had said it had to be under 100 on Saturday to race, and it was up till that evening before we're like, oh God, we're not sure, and it dropped down to 23 on Saturday.
That was really good.
Which is great, yeah. And then Sunday it was clear. So on Sunday we had the old people race.
The old people.
Young people on Saturday, old people on Sunday. But same
age. What was the age cutoff where you're like, I'm right on the edge?
You had to be 50 or older
50
to
or
race
older?
on Sunday. Yeah,
Okay.
50 or older.
You're disqualified.
I felt 50 at some point.
You felt 50 out there.
I looked like I was 50. So me and Josh Mondo were going to do a full Ironman on Sunday, and there was going to be Jeremiah Romero was going to do an adjusted full Ironman. So he did a 2K swim, a 100-mile bike, and then a 10K run, I think. And then everybody else did a half Ironman.
Seems like he ran longer than that. Maybe 10 miles.
Yeah. I think it was 10
Yeah,
miles. You're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I think it was 10 miles.
He looked pretty strong out there.
Yeah. Jeremiah had a great day. And then everybody else was going to do a half Ironman. So it was great to, for one, just have everybody out there together. And two, we ended up having a beautiful day. We really did. We had two awesome kayakers, Ryan and Jen Cotton, who led everybody who was swimming, which was great because all of our GPSs were all over the place because with the current in the Columbia River, I still can't tell when I'm swimming. This is going to sound so dumb. It's probably just because I'm not a super great river swimmer, but I can't tell when I'm swimming up or down current.
That's weird.
All my time I can, but I just can't. It's like some people are like, man, we were going upstream so hard. I was
what
I
it
really
is?
couldn't tell.
It's like a vision issue.
Yeah,
because
I really can't tell.
Yeah, because
most people are saying they can look at the ground and tell.
Yeah, especially
I can't
in that,
ever really see the ground.
In that water, you're just looking and you're going nowhere.
Yeah,
because you're swimming upstream and if you're breathing or whatever, you're seeing the same thing and you're off in the distance. It's all this stuff off in the distance, and it's that's not moving. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm basically on a treadmill here, and you're not seeing it.
See, that's even better for me then. My lack of depth
actually.
My complete lack of depth perception helps me out there. So,
yeah. Well, it's because it's really disheartening.
I was just following our kayaker Jen, who was awesome. I was just staying our tail and just following her, not thinking about it.
And then when you get going with the current on your tail, it's you just feel like you're going, but
it's
it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it does feel easy. It feels like you're moving, but it doesn't feel like you're. It doesn't feel that fast. You don't feel like you're getting that huge benefit, even though you are.
Yeah.
So I think I just need to cover up my goggles so I can't see.
Yeah. Because choppy water to me is much harder to swim into, just because it's actually that surface level difficulty. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we made it through. I think me and Josh's GPS were off a little bit, but Jen had us right on 4K. We came out at an hour, which is good to show that a ton of open water training actually makes you a decent open water swimmer.
Were you guys together?
Yeah. Me and Josh
out
actually
together.
had it where every 500 meters we would switch poles.
Oh,
So
wow.
every 500 meters,
That's
one of us
helpful.
would come in the front. We were just basically, circling each other there and paced each other, came out of the water together. Jumped on the bikes, and we've been training at Vancouver Lake for a while. We knew what we needed to hit, and of course I go out and I'm like, throw the plan in the trash, and it's just race mode. And my split for the half iron was 2:16, which was probably not smart going through a full, considering that the goal was 4:40. And
It's pretty close.
just had to back off a little bit towards the end just to.
You're just looking at your numbers?
I didn't
Kind
have
of,
a
or-
power meter, which we talked about. I need to have a power meter because I think I pushed very hard on the bike.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's going to be helpful. Do
Probably-
you use your heart rate or anything?
no, I just went by feel. I was looking at speed as my goal, and then clearly didn't even respect that. So
See, I think that I think one of the first, I don't do smart things very often, but like when I bought a power meter for like my first Ironman and just said, and this was like a hilly course, whatever. It's like, I'm going to hold, no more than this number, no less than this number.
Yeah.
And man, people
Would've
back,
been smart.
that was a long time ago. People didn't have as many power meters. You would hit these mountain climbs and people would just whip past you because they'll push 350 watts because they're climbing.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, nope, 190 or whatever it was. I don't remember what the number was. And so then you come down the hill and you're passing all those people, and then you finish like 10 times better than all of those people that passed you because
probably feeling great.
they're trashed, right?
Yeah.
After they're,
Yeah.
I think a power meter is almost cheating. It's
Yeah.
like, this is the right number for you to hit this number, and you'll be able to run decent after
Yeah.
that. So
And there's going to be a lot of lessons that I take from tomorrow going into the full IM distance. But I've raced the 73 distance for so long that I was telling Cassie it's hard to take that mindset out of my brain of what the 73 feels like, and it's
Right.
hard to adjust that. So I need that power meter in the sense that I have to then have a number to look at to adjust my effort. But
it's a double whammy because you're out there by yourself with nothing to like
Exactly.
key off of.
Exactly.
But also,
especially because I made the dumb decision to. Me and Josh should have just ridden together through most of it. I went race mode and tried to drop him, and
that's fine.
at some point, which we were both pushing a little bit too hard through the beginning. And I looked at he had a flat at one point, so the numbers are adjusted a little bit, but his wattage was too high for his goal, and then we kind of tapered it down to what my pace would have been. And we were like, oh, it was not that far off 4 watts per kilo for an Ironman bike, which is kind of dumb. So that's
Well, yeah, I just think you could probably come up with a number that's pretty ideal for you.
Yeah, I think 3.5 is probably a more reasonable number instead of 4 watts per kilo.
And you want to get
a
off the
bit
bike
ambitious.
feeling like $1 million.
Yeah, I did not. So that was, and then the rest of the story goes as Matt and Jake got to see in full glory. It was just I get off the bike and tell you what, if you feel great in an Ironman run for like the first, and I'm sure anybody who's done this, I have so much respect for anybody. I don't care if you finished in 16:59:59. I have so much respect for anybody who's completed that distance. That day is a monster. It is an absolute monster. And there, you get off the bike and for the first 5K felt just great. Like, not that you could hold it forever, but felt like, man.
You're so happy to be off the bike.
Oh my God, yeah. And you're running and the pace is good and you're like, here we go. This is it. And then hit mile like 4 or 5, start to slow down, walking by 6. I was walking at the 10K mark, which was not good. That's obviously a very poor overall race plan if you're walking at mile 6.
I got some great drone footage. Right around mile 6 or something like that.
Matt got the blow up a couple.
I was like, I'm gonna land this drone.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not gonna want this footage.
There, you know what? I think I do. I probably just need to play it on repeat on a YouTube channel just each time I train, now like Rocky style.
We could pull a picture from it and have it blown up and put it on your treadmill.
Doesn't Lionel Sanders in his
in
his garage has a picture when Patrick Lange passed him in Kona, and he put it right up in front of his treadmill. He has no TV there. He just has the picture of Patrick Lange passing him
and it's
in
like
Kona.
a wall in that picture.
That's
He
so
just
Evan.
stared at it.
That is so
Yeah.
you
He
right
just
there.
stared.
It
All
is.
of my picture of Lance right next to there, and then that. But yeah, it was there was a lot of anger at myself there. But I am so lucky to have. There are so many awesome, like Lauren Anderson bringing her cowbell with you.
I know, right?
She was with Matt, just like
super cool.
out there helping out. Carlos brought me fruit at one point. Like, I mean, Debbie Stat staying with the bikes all day. Bob and Karen Rakaz were there too. I mean, just incredible people. But I think I walked from like mile 6 to 8, And then, I don't know, I took a good sip of Red Bull or something, or I think it was right around the time Jake had probably convinced me to start running again. Started running and felt great for like 6 or 7 miles or something. 8. It was 8 miles.
Yeah, you ran from 8 to 16.
8 to 16. Yeah,
that was interesting.
Again.
Well, and Jake gave me his headphones. I'm listening to my favorite songs and like feeling just smooth again, past Josh. And then at that point, I'm thinking, man, like I'm gonna cruise these last 10 miles. And then lights went out really hard the second time. Like the second time the lights went out, it was a little different. And
because you were cramping. It was like hip flexor and your glutes and all those things were locking up the first time, and then the next time it was like, nope. It was like tunnel vision.
It went from cramping to now the head got really light and started to just kind of fall apart mentally.
You think that's calorie stuff?
Fall apart mentally.
Dehydration.
You started to rally. You ate. I gave you that Stinger bar.
The Stinger helped quite a bit.
Waffle thing, and then you drank. I don't know if you realize this, but I gave you like a full bottle of Scratch.
I think I forgot even drinking that.
It was a half a serving. So for the amount of fluid that was in there was only one scoop.
Yeah.
But I figured I'd bring it out there for you just in case you wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit. And I knew just having it be a half a scoop, and Scratch is usually pretty clean. It's not going to give you any GI issues.
No, the Scratch did great for especially when I started running again.
Finished a whole bottle of that, and then I refilled with Laura some water, and you drank that as well. And that's when you kind of started to rally. I mean, that was when you got to about mile, I don't know, like 9, 10 maybe, and you really started to kick it up, and you were a little ways behind Josh on the run, and you closed that gap, and then you put a big chunk of time into him again.
Yeah.
And then you hit 16, and you're like, nope, done with this. And then he came by you, and I had to leave a little while after that, but you
had to bag it after
you
that.
weren't
Yeah. It was, and then
looking all that great.
I think Jacob made a good point. We were talking. I needed to be better at eating on the bike. So I thought I was taking in enough on the bike, but I was taking in enough from what I'd done in previous training days, not realizing that those training days were 10-mile runs after, not 26.
Yeah.
So
your bike is like this opportunity to eat, which is weird.
That's what I needed to treat it as.
And then
I treated it as an opportunity to race yesterday, not as an opportunity to get ready for the run was the problem. So
hey, Evan, do you think that more of the meltdown had to do with pacing on the bike than eating on the bike, just going too hard for just a little too long?
I think you're right. Those first 2 hours, I averaged at almost 25 miles an hour, which if you're a seasoned pro, that's like standard, but there's that was a bit of a reach for me, I think. And even though it felt good for those 2 hours, just like you said there, Lance, having not raced a full Ironman before, I didn't realize how tough the war of attrition is at the end of that race.
Yeah.
And
it's all survival. Those last 6 miles are like absolute survival.
And you pay for every hour that you overdid it previously.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like, it's not how fast you can go on the bike. It's how fast you can go on the bike and eat.
Yeah.
And you have to process those calories.
Yep.
Like, so if your gut isn't getting, blood to it, then you're going too fast, which is a weird thing, right? Like it's not. It seems like, I can bike faster.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's that balance, and clearly I did not strike that balance yesterday. Like it was, I was off, and that's if you're walking by mile 6 on the run, like you did something wrong on the bike, basically. And
or you had a bad day.
I think I just did not have a good day. There's definitely things in my training I've got to look at. I kind of geared a lot of my training more towards the Olympic and 73 distance without respecting how hard the Ironman is, I think, and it was basically came down to the end was Matt did everything in his power to try and motivate me, and Cassie was awesome all day.
Cassie was amazing.
Oh, and just incredible.
I just kept thinking like, she's there like every step of the way. And I was like, oh my gosh, she is just amazing.
Oh, and I was probably a nightmare to be around that entire marathon.
No, you were nice. I was like going around, like biking around and doing other stuff, and Cassie was just like, boom, she was there with all like drinks and food and everything that you needed and music, and I was like, man, she is a Johnny on the spot with all this stuff.
Oh yeah,
that was cool.
This year we've done solo races, both of us, and solo training days, so we both gotten very in tune with what the other person needs when the lights start to go out. So
she was worried, she was concerned.
That was the most she said last night. She said that's the most she's seen me go dark. Like we even talked about it. Everest was nothing compared to that. Just in like where I was mentally. Like mentally at Everest, I had a hard point.
Right.
But that was
you looked rough to me at Everest as well. So
this was this one hurt a lot more for some reason. I'm not sure what was hurting. It was everything. And then at the bottom line is I think I look at Josh's race and him able to hold almost 8-minute pace for that entire run so steady.
Is that what he did? 8 minutes?
Yeah, I think.
What was it, 3:30?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Josh just 100% just destroyed me in the mental battle of that race. I think Josh has done that distance. Josh has a very, very cool story behind him, which he's told before.
He's a tough person.
He is a tough guy. I mean, there's toughness in triathlon, and then there's what Josh is, and Josh is another level of toughness that I think you see sometimes in the sport, but it's rare. And I have a whole new respect for the difference between racing an Olympic distance race hard and what an Ironman is hard. And an Ironman is hard is you got to have some life experience. There's like a point that comes in that race where I gave up, and I think I could have made it. I was pretty close to passing out at one point, but
yeah, I think you're just gonna have a different experience next time you do it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily ever describe it as giving up. I mean, I think when Cassie was like, "Yep, he's not safe anymore," that's when we were like, "Pull the plug! Like, it's not safe. Don't be stupid."
Yeah.
So that seems smart.
Yeah, it was. I was, and I'll get over this very, very quickly. It was cool getting to see everybody. Like, there were more positives from yesterday than negatives. I did have. It was where I was joking with John Hoffman and Cassie that they both. I think you saw too much. I cried actually when I stopped, which was weird. I'm not, and this is I never want to be the tough guy. I was like, oh, I never cry, but that's not my response ever to anything.
Right.
I don't do that, and it was very strange to stop, and then have that just kind of like wash over you for a second. So when I see people finishing Ironman and cry at the finish, I was like, oh yeah, 100% understand that. That race is hard. Like, I think you're just crying because it's over. Like, you're just so happy. You're so happy it's
tired
over.
and overwhelmed, and it's a pretty.
Lance, did you ever get emotional at an Ironman finish line?
Yeah, actually, for the last like 5 miles.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It was hard not to cry during those last 5 miles, knowing that I was about to finish. The last Ironman I did, I spent 2.5 hours in the med tent getting IV bags. I was so destroyed. So
yeah.
That's
I've got a whole. I mean, I think I level of respect for that distance just from what I thought it was, and after not finishing it and making it to mile 22, I now have that last 4 miles would have been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life if I tried to make it those last 4 miles.
But here's the thing: the next one you do, you're going to be so much more motivated.
Yeah.
You're going to be so much more inspired.
Yeah.
You'll be smarter because you have experience, but also like. It may not be as bad.
Yeah.
You might look back and be like, well, it just was a different day and I felt fine.
Yeah.
So the way you train typically and the intensity which you bring to training may make that distance your best distance. And you may actually finish feeling
I think
decent.
I'm actually built for the Ironman better
I think
than
so too.
distances.
So
it's just, it was disappointing to have a day like that.
You had a bad day, which, man, for someone that I think is built very much for Ironman, it's kind of good to see you're human.
Nothing, the other thing to say about this too is doing this, you basically did it solo. I mean, you and Josh kind of did it together, but without the atmosphere of a race and spectators and a start and a big start event and a big event that you're at, that is very motivating. All that having all the spectators helping you get you to the finish line, knowing that I can't stop at mile 22 because my wife and my family are at the finish line. Yep. I have to get there if I want to finish this. I have to. And so doing it solo like you guys did is significantly harder than doing an event, which we don't have this year.
And even with how good of a day, in my opinion, Josh had, Josh has gone 9:10 before. And in my opinion, right now, after training with him like we have and crunching numbers and me and him train together, he's in sub 9 shape. So I think you're right, Lance. As we were talking, yesterday? I think it was like 9:40 or something, or 9:30, something like that. He is faster than that time, and I think that you're right, Lance. I don't think we realized I definitely didn't realize how long 112 is lonely trying to race. Like when you're solo, that is a long way to go.
Yeah.
When you have nobody to kind of visually pace off of. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the pacing on the bike becomes so important because you go 15 minutes too fast on the bike, you give up an hour and a half on the run.
Yeah.
Or 2 hours on the run.
That's true.
You dial it back just 10 more minutes and you can run an hour faster. Mm-hmm. So you don't realize how much as soon as you start walking, it's over.
Yeah.
You're not racing anymore. You're finishing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can lose a lot of time in a mile walking it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a 7:30 mile and a 15:30 mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even, like you were talking about 8-minute miles or whatever, but even like a 9-minute mile is so much faster
perfectly
than
fine compared to what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird because we all train for fast running, and like 7-minute pace seems ridiculously slow.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking Ironman, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's just a matter of moving forward.
Yeah.
It's such a weird race.
And it was just disappointing for me knowing that I may not be in my best run Ironman. I realize now the difference between training for an Ironman run and training just to be a fast runner. And I think this year I really focused on training to be a fast runner.
Which is good.
And, which I think for long-term development is great. It's just I realized the training's got to be slightly different for that Ironman run.
And I do think that being that fast makes 7 minutes feel easy, which is great for Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
But,
when the lights go out, the lights go out.
Well, yeah, that's just part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what though, I love the community we have and all that. If I was to choose another Ironman course, even though it's the easiest one for us to do, I hope they never do a Ironman sponsored event at Vancouver Lake. That's torture to try and go out there.
There's not a lot of shade out there.
There's not a lot of use. There's not a lot of use. Not a lot of shade.
Beautiful.
A lot of dead raccoons. There's a lot of dead raccoons out there. There was a dead deer at one point on the bike that I almost, head down, you look up, and there's like a deer head like an inch away from your wheel. You're like, oh, here we go.
So, look at that asphalt. Look at it go.
Yeah.
A lot of good takeaways from that, Evan, even though you didn't finish.
Yeah.
A lot of good takeaways. And I think that that's actually going to make you a stronger, more well-prepared athlete when you go out to do your next one.
I hope
so. And it didn't cost you $700 to figure this out.
That's true.
It's funny you said. My mom's first comment to me today was she's like, well, at least you didn't pay $800 to make it a mile 22. I was like,
Whatever
that's a very good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I look back at my race career, I look at the race I did 3 years ago, St. George, laying on the ground, cramping, having to look at my training and coming to a real moment where I realized I need to take this more seriously. And then now looking at this, one of two ways. It can either be something that you look back at and that's the reason you quit the sport or the reason that you change something. So I'm going to have to look at it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody was awesome out there.
You
really.
treated it just like a race, but I mean, it was just kind of more of like a dry run. So I'm sure, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before, there's a ton of value for people to go out and do a dry run for this kind of stuff, whether it be even like just down to a sprint, just to get a good feel for it, so you don't have the pressure or the financial investment in that. So I think that's a really good thing that you did that.
This is something that we're planning on doing for the team each year now, which I think is awesome, just to have the team come out, no charge, no pressure, just come out and, hey, if this is a distance you want to do in a real race, come out and do it in this team environment.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to come out there sooner, but I just had
you came out
stuff.
at the right. You came out at the right time. Jake and Matt. I know it's like the time you guys came out was the most important time for sure. The least pretty, but the most important time.
But that was fun, and I'm sure that plenty of other teammates would want to do that. And a lot of teammates did show up and help you out throughout the course of the day.
A lot of people were there.
David Goodman was there. He ran with you in flip flops.
So Cassie has a
awesome.
great picture of David running in flip flops. Now, running's a strong word. I was hobbling at this point. But David was such a chimp. I probably would have quit a mile and a half earlier if David wasn't there, because he was like running from his car towards me. He's like, chase me. So I'm hobbling after him.
It was fun to see him for sure.
Yeah, we talked about the tour a little bit. Cassie made me recite some tour facts. So
I was like, he's doing pretty well.
Oh, I still know every year that Lance Armstrong won the tour.
Yeah.
And I still know who was the first or who was the last guy to win the yellow, polka dot, and white jersey in the same season.
And I was asking you about like random people, random triathletes, like how would this person do in Kona? And you were like, boom, nailed it. And, and I was like, okay, well, he's pretty good. He should keep going.
Rain man of endurance sports over here.
Be laying on the side of the road, and I'd still answer a good question like that. So.
Well, and then I was just thinking like, but when Cassie was like, no, it's time to call it, I was like, get in the car.
Yeah, that was, and John Hoffman being
he was right there.
The
it was
absolute
awesome.
Carlos and John Hoffman being the two MVPs of the end
sure.
when things got ugly. Because like Lance, you said, if that was a real race and I was out at aid station 22 and they're like, sorry, man, we don't have a gator here, I'd be like laying on the side of the road at that point, hoping that.
Yep, scary stuff. I'm glad you're okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Well done. Oh, me? My turn?
Yep.
Should I go? Matt's over here staring at me.
Backpedal.
I rode on Zwift 6 times for 150 miles. Yay. Me. Go
150
team.
in-place miles. It's the best miles.
A couple workouts in there.
You ended exactly where you started.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right on Zwift. You
Well,
didn't
no, I
make it too
rode
far.
outside yesterday, and
That was huge.
exactly.
Beautiful day.
That was fun. I was kind of trying to
Slowest
get out
ride
there.
of Jake's year.
Well, I flew out there. I think when I got to, my average speed was like damn near 22 miles an hour, and my normalized power was about 300 watts. Just getting out there because I wanted to be out there sooner. I wanted to catch you on the bike, and I wanted to see some of that. And I'm like trying to crunch numbers. I didn't know exactly what time you started at. I'm like, well, if he started at 8 o'clock, then he's probably going this fast. He's going to be out there riding. Well, you probably
It was about 7:30 start, I think is when we started.
So you started about half an hour earlier than I thought you did, and you went a hell of a lot faster than I was anticipating. So you were obviously off the bike already when I got out there.
And Jake was there through the through the roughest part of it. That is for sure.
Well, my average speed went from like 22 miles an hour when I was down with you.
To
down.
4.
It was about 11. So, we were just kind of cruising along. And I was chatting with Cassie, and when you did kind of rally and come back, Cassie and I were just chatting. We were watching you, but we weren't really paying attention. We were just talking about stuff. We look up, and you're like half a mile, 3/4 mile up the road. We're like, and we're on bikes. Like, you ran away from us. And I'm like, oh, I guess he's feeling better. We should probably get up there. And she's like, yeah, let's go. So that was fun. So was with you for about an hour and
at least hour and a half
change
probably.
or something like that. I don't know what it was. And then I looked down at my watch. I'm like, whoa, need to get home. Supposed to be going to Costco with the wife before they close. So it was a Hammerfest
Costco date.
Hammerfest going back home.
Hammerfest getting back home.
Did you get a crown? I saw a crown on your.
He got 2 KOMs.
Where'd you get the KOM out there?
Is that McGilvery over there by Clark
was some,
College?
You got the McGilvery KOM?
Yeah,
There's some climb.
Climbing back up to that.
Yeah, I ride over that one all the time.
What is that one called, Lance? You know what that every KOM in your neck of the...
It's McLaughlin Climb.
Yeah.
Is that what it is,
The whole
McLaughlin?
McLaughlin Climb. There's McLaughlin Climb 1. There's McLaughlin Climb Part 2. Yeah, there's a bunch.
I think I got the McLaughlin one and the whole climb as well. I was feeling good, and I don't know, some guy was like going really slow up it, and I saw him up there. I'm like, I wonder if I can pass him before he gets to the top.
Carrot.
And I was going up that climb and went by him at about 21.5 miles an hour, and he went, oh wow. So it was kind of funny. But
That's always, isn't there? Oh god, I've seen some really funny memes about that. It's like every time you see a guy on a commuter bike, make sure you fly by him on your bike so you can get an oh wow, and then die off right after.
Yeah. But outside of that, it was
awesome.
just another standard week, and I'm hoping the smoke isn't an issue because I want to try and get in a few more good rides before we really get into bad weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got screwed.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. We're 47 minutes into this whole thing.
We're gonna for once blame me for the really long back pedal. This is not Lance's fault. Lance had the best back pedal by far.
Hey, how about a Patreon little thingy here? Want to do a little Patreon drawing?
Drawing.
For those who might be interested in becoming a Patreon, you can go to dialpodcast.com. On the homepage there, you will see a link to go to the Patreon page that we have set up, and you can go on there and become a Patreon, help support the show, and get little goodies and get entered into these drawings. So today we are going to be giving away a custom-made face mask with cyclists on it, and it was made by the one and only Kristen Legrand. These things
Dr. Legrand. Woo.
These things are professional. As a matter of fact, they're better than some of the ones that my wife has been buying.
This thing is worth somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000, I would say.
$500,000.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a stunner. You will look fantastic.
And you're
in
getting
it
it as steel for $0
Yeah,
here.
it's got the little ear
Patreon.
adjusters on it. It's got the bendable little nose piece on it. It's super comfortable. That is my mask of choice, to be honest with you. I wear it everywhere now.
That and the buff. The dial buff is
buff,
awesome.
yeah.
as well.
The nose piece is by far the best part of that. It's
nice.
That's been the one thing because I talk so much that my jaw continues to knock down my mask.
Yep.
Yeah, so the nose piece is a lifesaver.
It's clutch. So we've got a bunch of Patreon names in this little jar thing. I'm going to have Evan draw it this time. So it's not
This is the first drawing I think I've done.
You should do more.
Who do we got?
Scott Troutman.
Scott Troutman. That's a good one.
There you go. At least it's a bike rider, As long as it's a bike rider who gets the bike mask.
So Scott, when you hear this, you reach out, and we will make sure to get this lovely little face mask over to you. It's pretty awesome. So thank you to all of our patrons. Stay tuned for the next announcement. We'll probably do another one of these in a couple weeks. Prize to be determined. So lead out news is, hey, did Champ Bailey go with you on this little road trip? Did you toss him in the van? Champ Bailey?
Champ Bailey out.
Champ Bailey is out.
Is
the way
Lance
out.
gone?
Oh, no.
That's too bad.
Oh, all right.
Oh, no, wait. Is he here? Champ?
Wait,
Oh, no, there he is.
I was muting myself for dramatic effect. Did it work?
No, it did not.
I was responding and I forgot that I was on mute. So.
Like, no, don't hang up on me.
Champ Bailey is here. He is here in the van with me. He is all brown and wearing a collar and only 50 pounds heavy.
Oh, wow.
Right, Piper? Yeah, no, just kidding. Yes, we did have some big drama this week. I'm sure that all these cyclists who listen to this will already know all the stuff that happened at the Tour de France. It was a fantastic race. The whole race ended up being great. It all ended up coming down to the time trial on day 20 of 21, where Pogačar, and I think I'm finally saying it right.
Thank you.
Tadej.
Pogačar. His friends call him Pogačar.
Pogačar managed to overcome the 57-second deficit that he had behind Roglic, and he beat him by a full minute. It was so dramatic to watch. It was like just great racing. So much drama.
Would you say strange?
Strange.
It might be strange. It was a little strange, but yeah, it was pretty amazing that how that all went down, and I don't know what else to say about it. It kind of made you speechless to see what was happening and what was going down, and so to see that all happen was just.
I think the gut reaction, Champ. Would you agree? Is this in the modern era may be the greatest tour ever? May be the greatest tour ever. You have to compare.
That sounds like something that Evan would say.
You have to compare it to Fignon versus Le Mans, but I hate Greg LeMond, so we're gonna say that this is in my opinion, this was the greatest tour of the modern era.
It was the best time trial.
Now we need to show some
sure.
love to Le Mans.
Yeah,
He's the only other American. He's the only other American tour winner. So.
Oh, did he? I'm sorry. I forgot. I forgot over the 7 somebody else won. But
did anybody else feel this way? Like you felt bad for Roglic?
Yes.
I wanted him to win, but I so enjoyed the entertainment value of that race, and just to watch that, to say that you watched that was like spectacular.
But it was so because simultaneously you're like. Watching Pogačar, you're like you want him to just keep on going because he's incredible. But then you're watching Roglic and like I know
he looked rough, but he still got like 4th on the stage, which should have been.
But
I mean,
still
that should be
great.
enough for him to win, right?
Yeah,
you shouldn't 5th place should not be. A
death sentence to your yellow.
50 seconds. On a time trial. I would think that would be.
Pogačar won this stage by almost.
2 minutes?
2.5 minutes.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
I mean, he smoked Tom DeMulan. That was.
Tommy D looked good. I mean, he had when he came over, he had the fastest. Well, he beat Wout. But Wout was was he in the top 4 or 5? Did he beat
Wout was
Roglic?
like 4th, I think.
Yeah,
he was 5th.
Yeah.
So, Jumbo Visma was monstrous, but
yeah,
Pogačar. Oh my gosh, that guy!
It was just incredible.
Yeah,
also, did everybody get to see the bike switches?
Yeah.
I was talking about this. Watching the that poor guy who's got to make that. Can you imagine how stressed that guy is in those moments?
Well, they never said anything about it, but Roglic went over that 5-second threshold that they were supposed to be at. They counted 7 seconds off on that. I was watching that, counting it when I was watching it on my phone when I was driving up to Tacoma.
Is that a penalty?
It was it was a time penalty if you went over because you can have it. You can have the push, but you only get the push assist for 5 seconds.
Oh,
he was
Roglic
pushing him
was
for a long time.
7 seconds.
Interesting.
Nobody ever said anything about it.
Looked like the mechanic struggled to get his bike off the car just a little bit.
Yeah. It was slow to get.
It wasn't quite as smooth.
Well,
but
it also wasn't entirely his fault. This is really getting into the details here, but he gets out of the car and the car doesn't stop. So he had to catch himself and then run back up to the car real quick and get the bike. So the poor mechanic was already kind of disoriented coming out of the car.
Roglic was having a hard time clipping in, and there was it was not clean.
Tossed a $15,000 bike on the ground.
Doesn't matter though because he got smoked.
That Aero helmet. The way he was wearing that Aero helmet looked off to me.
Awkward. Yep.
He
was just it was pushed back on his head, and he just looked uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He did. That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
Could you imagine what was going through his head as he is hearing these time splits come to him over his... Yeah. I mean, he's losing time. Now Pogačar is even with him. Now Pogačar has pulled ahead of him, and he is probably going as hard as he possibly can and
the tour
just
is slipping
can't
away.
pull it together. Oh my
you know,
gosh.
so on the move, Lance Armstrong was talking about the year that Jan Ullrich had previously beaten him. I think it was 2003. I could be wrong on the year. Had previously beaten him in a time trial by 6 seconds in the tour. The second time trial, Lance has a gap on Jan in the yellow jersey battle, but Ulrich was taking back about a second or two per kilometer.
That's what.
Wow.
Per kilometer.
Yeah.
This is the year that it was raining and Jan crashed into the corner, which is, if you want to see one of the saddest moments in cycling, it really was Jan Ullrich crashing there. And then I believe he crashed again on that stage. It was his true chance to beat Lance and was maybe going to do it. And Lance was talking about getting those feeds into his, and the description he gave it, and imagine Lance Armstrong, I mean, we're talking about literally a sociopath of confidence, was saying he was terrified, was the emotion. It wasn't anger, sadness, it was terror. And that's what I imagine Roglic was going through, was it's terror. Yeah.
But what a sportsman when it was all said and
Oh,
done.
yeah.
He was sitting there like he was beside himself. But you know what? He's like, I got to get up. I got to pull myself together. I got to walk over and I have to congratulate him because that's a hard moment. Effort for the ages. And he did. He walked over there, congratulated them, and they seem like they're good friends. And that was
countrymen and friends.
Exactly. So that was pretty cool to see. So I have great respect for Roglic. No, he's a good dude.
Roglic is going to be back next year.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be back next year. Bernal's going to be back with a vengeance next year.
Yep.
We're going to have next year's tour is going to be
insane.
Absolutely insane.
Can we just a couple steps back here and just say, like, this was a great tour. One, they made it through 3 weeks during like this COVID nightmare.
The green jersey was an exciting battle to watch.
Oh my gosh.
Like a very exciting battle.
It was all around just a great tour.
And there were just great there were other riders that made this a great, like Sunweb and their young team.
Absolutely.
They were one of the best teams of the tour. And who would have said that before going into that?
Didn't expect that,
No, I mean, you had great breakaway battles. This tour, in my opinion, all around, when you look at the whole picture, was the best tour of the modern era. Yeah.
Some of these bigger teams that have a lot of big names, if there was a little bit more shuffling just to create a little bit more parity within all of these teams, there are some big names that could be GC people that could go over to some of these smaller teams and be supported.
Sepp, Tom, Kruijswijk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Sunweb or EF or, just there's 3 or 4 teams that
Ineos could take a couple of their riders off to other teams.
Yeah.
Richie is, so I had completely forgotten this.
Oh, yeah.
Richie's leaving Trek and going to Ineos.
Yep.
And has said,
Ineos, that's right.
After this tour, he made the podium. Another guy we just completely, really the true underdog story of that was.
I don't think we even mentioned him on our preview.
God.
Yeah.
And
which is sad because we've always talked about him in previous
and what
years.
a moment for him.
We're expecting him to finish stage 9, though.
Yeah, so. I know. And this guy has struggled his entire career. Anybody who's watched Richie in the tour, it's heartbreaking to watch him year after year.
Yeah.
And to see him in that last time trial,
crush it.
Yeah, and his sportif director was talking about how Richie was getting emotional in the last kilometer.
Yeah,
because he was yelling over the announcement. He's like, "You did it! You're on the you did it! You're on the podium!" And he was just kept on yelling that over the speaker. And you can just imagine how emotional Richie was after that.
And knowing that he's got a brand new daughter at home when he's done with this whole thing, gets to meet her, and there's a lot of emotion there.
What's Ineos going to do with him?
He's going to be a super domestique.
I mean,
you think?
You look at that. I know now he says, I'm ready to go into that domestique role.
Really?
Let's be honest. So Ineos is going to have to look at their young guys. So they're going to have to look at Bernal. They're going to have to look at Sivakov. They're going to have to look at those guys in next year's tour. They're going to have to say, okay, this year, yes, in the future, Bernal and Sivakov are the future. This year, is Richie still strong enough and is G strong enough to be our horses? And Richie just came off a podium in the tour.
I know, right?
Yes, he's old and towards the back of his career, but I think it's easy when you're 35, 36 to say right after the tour, be like, I'm good, I'm done. Wait till next season comes around. If Richie's in good shape again, he's going to be their leader.
There's questions as to what was wrong with Bernal. Was he carrying over a back injury? Because we had talked about him quitting, was it the Dauphiné?
The Dauphiné.
Yeah.
Dauphiné.
Yeah.
So he potentially could have had back issues. Maybe overtraining.
Peaked a little too early,
That team had a lot of young people on there. Yep. They didn't have their normal experienced people. So lack of mentorship, a lack of kind of taming things down a little bit. I don't know. I think if he gets some of that stuff sorted out, he's going to come back next year. And if he had the likes of a Richie, that could be, or G, that could be the thing where maybe they go into it as another double-headed monster kind of a scenario, and like whoever's got the best time or whoever's looking to be like the number one guy, then that's who they could support. So if he falters again, then maybe Richie's there to be that guy.
Right. It worked.
Well,
I think it worked
it'll be
sometimes.
interesting to see on the Tour of Italy or the Tour of Spain if, when they've got Froome and Geraint back, if they're a little more dominant or more in control than they were during this tour.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be. Does anybody know when does? I know this next weekend's the World Championship. When does the Giro and the Vuelta
it's
start?
Right after that, I thought.
Are they running simultaneously?
It's soon.
No, I think the World Championship's like this week, and then the next.
If there were only electronic devices that we could look these things up on,
I know.
We'll look it up.
I should look it up before. It's just I think we were all so enthralled with a tour that it's. I love the Giro and Vuelta, but it is fine. I feel like. I mean, we're all going to watch the Giro and Vuelta, but these teams had to put a lot into the tour this year, and now it's. I mean, you're getting boom, boom, right, going into the next one. So
let me ask you a question. Do you think the wheels are going to kind of fall off there? Do you think we're going to have like some COVID issues? Do you think that there's going to be more drama around these races?
At the Giro, there's always drama. So yes, I'm sure the Giro will have. They're going to probably start that, and I'm sure one of the teams is going to have like all 8 riders test positive or something. So yeah.
Well, it was a great tour.
Numbers are spiking.
Numbers are spiking
too.
in Italy and Spain specifically.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Champ, anything else from the tour that you'd like to chime in on?
Nope. I think we have talked too much.
We should switch over to triathlon.
Real quick race update from Champ's buddy John Elway. Same team, right? Right? Was that the same? No.
Yeah, it was.
No, it'd be like Jake the Snake was Champ Bailey era, right? Jake Plummer.
Right.
We'll go Jake Plummer. Okay, so Jake Plummer's reporting.
Plummer.
So at Bear Lake in Idaho.
Tim Tebow.
Idaho, Tim Tebow. Yeah, we'll go with Tim Tebow reporting.
The Tebow report.
The Tebow report.
Oh, my God.
So anytime we do triathlon, we'll do triathlon Tebow over here. So now, Lance, correct me if I'm wrong. Bear Lake is on the border of Idaho and Utah, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so there was a race, a professional triathlon race sponsored by PTO, which is the Professional Triathlon Organization, at Bear Lake. It's called the Bear Lake Brawl, and the half iron distance was the race for the pros. There was some drama before. It was a lot of jawing back and forth, which I think that PTO is trying to drum up now between kind of Sam Long and the rest of the field.
What is it? People are like kind of pick on Sam Long.
I kind of love the kid. I think he's awesome. I hate him and love him at the same time.
Yeah,
he's easy to be annoyed by, but he to me, he's that guy that he's not cocky. He's just very direct in how he talks. He doesn't filter himself at all.
I think what's annoying is that he gave himself the nickname The Big Unit.
Oh, he gives himself a ton of nick. He's annoying. He's incredibly annoying.
It's like, okay,
but
I
he's
don't know.
but he's that guy that, from what I've heard, people who know him say he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So
right.
it's like people who know him think he's a good guy. His persona is a little bit off-putting, but he got called out by a lot of pros, and I'll even be direct. Ben Canute sat there and trash talked him.
Yeah.
And said, you can talk online, but when brass tacks comes, we'll see how he does. Ben got his butt absolutely handed to him by Sam Long.
Right.
100%. Now, it was a cold race. Ben's a little guy. Sam's a big guy. Yeah, whatever. Sam Long went out there and dominated this race.
Yeah.
Like,
did they do it like time trial style, or
yeah,
how did they do it?
Yeah. They did. They did a time trial start for the pros. So the podium ended up being Sam Long, Matt Hansen, and then Justin Metzler was in third. Great race from Justin Metzler.
Yeah.
That was an awesome race from Justin Metzler. Like, I raced Justin Metzler way back when. And
I know.
To watch his progression has been cool because, and this is not me insulting Justin, Justin's not a massively talented triathlete. He has been a slow, steady progression his entire career.
I thought he was done.
He's
obviously not.
He's been just slowly getting better and better. He's just quietly getting better and better. But that was the podium after a lot of trash talk. The women's race, me and Cassie were trying to track the women's race. To be honest, I didn't know a lot of the women pros in
That's
the race.
exactly how I felt,
really
too.
did not know many. The woman who won, I know, is like a very good runner. I am now blanking on her name. Sky Monch was second, who Sky is awesome. She raced Boulder 73 and is awesome. But yeah, that was all I got from the women's race.
Do we think we're going to get more races from the PTO?
Yeah.
Is this like their
This
thing?
is going to be the new thing. This is, I think PTO is going to start sponsoring pro fields at already established races and putting on their own races.
And they want
now.
to put out prize money
So
stuff.
So
they're not going to open it to the public. You think it's just going to be pros?
I think so. And then I think Triathlon Tebow is going to have a lot more reporting from PTO races for sure.
How are you feeling about PTO? I have a bad taste in my mouth from them, and I don't know why. I should be all on board for them because
Here's what I think
they're
is
promoting our sport. So I should be.
PTO, I think, over time is going to try and weed out the mid-backpack pros so that they can build a core centralized group of pros that they can pay and get them to big races and trump up the marketing. Which, to me, if I get kicked out the back of the pro field and I'm no longer in pro races, I'm fine with that as long as these guys get the support and pay that they need to get to maintain the sport, So
I don't know about that. I don't know if I like that.
The only thing I don't like about it is I think triathlon is at its core a sport that promotes kind of grittiness.
Yeah.
And I think when you get to pampering professional athletes, you end up with what we have in some major sports, which are kind of spoiled athletes. And I think triathlon's been the opposite of that for it's kind of like cycling. Like cycling pros to me are like gritty pro, it's like there's something about that lifestyle. It's like Phil Guyman's book, like what is it? Pro cycling off $1 a day or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a pro
$10
cycle.
a day.
$10 a day. Yeah. A little bit more than $1 a day. but it's like, I think that's kind of that romantic bit from professional cycling. Matt's talked about running kind of the same way. Pro runners just like living in their cars in Boulder, running the track. Like that's what I liked about triathlon pro. I hope that it doesn't lose that grittiness, but who knows? I'd probably sound
you need
old
that like struggling artist feel.
You do
to the sport
to get
and
behind
I think if you have that intro professional. And you don't really count because you have like a real job, but like the other pro triathletes that are like scraping by to make it, like that's admirable in a weird way, and it's
that's
kind of
why
cool.
I like Sam, even though Sam's got other qualities that people don't like about him, but I kind of like that bit about him.
Yeah,
he's very unpolished.
Yeah, there are other athletes that I feel like I really like, and they're scraping by.
Yeah,
anyway,
or working their butts off, trying their best.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
But nobody cares because this is a swimming podcast.
That's true.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Podcast.
My bad. We should have just talked about the swim leg the whole time. Yeah.
I got one more thing to add to the little lead out news thing here.
Yeah.
Our good friend Robert Cummings.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I saw that.
I completely forgot that.
They did an Everesting attempt, and that attempt went extremely well because they finished that thing in 9 hours and 34 minutes.
9:34.
Flying.
Yeah, that's what the elapsed time is on the Strava
the same exact road that me and Tonk did it. That's so awesome.
Got you by about an hour and a half.
About an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
an hour and 20.
That is crazy fast.
That is
wow.
Yeah.
So
that's just
impressive performance.
Congratulations, Robert.
Congrats, Robert.
Robert's flying up the hill and flying down the hill. Yeah. I need to look back at it and see what their top speed was descending.
59.3.
Almost 60 miles an hour going down the hill. Oh, gosh.
Average speed for the whole thing was 12 miles an hour.
I wonder if Robert was super tucking the whole time.
Average heart rate was 148.
Wow.
Average power for the ride was 226.
Yeah, the power was crazy.
With a max wattage of 223. Or I'm sorry,
weighted
623.
Weighted was like 240, I think.
Yeah. So that was quite the event. The Forest Home has seen a lot of cyclists riding up and down and all around that thing. And I wonder
funny
if,
now.
I think Robert's now the local legend on Forest Home, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
Robert's keeping that logo legend for a while.
Right on. Cool. All right, let's jump into our topic because we've got about 3 minutes to talk about it, right?
Yep.
We can move through it quick.
So this one comes into us from our listener, Sean Henry. Thank you, Sean. We had some other things that we're going to can for later on because these were just well thought out and intelligent questions. But can't pass it up.
Yeah, he always provides good feedback on the podcast as well as good questions.
Sean's just like way smarter than us too. So we just, I just try to like listen to what Sean's questions are. I was like, how would you respond to that, Sean? And then I just try to respond that way.
Exactly.
I want him to come on the podcast. So please
it's been asked.
think about it.
Maybe,
bring their dog.
Yeah, maybe.
We need Bert on here.
Cool. So we've got the primary question, and there's some sub questions to it. So let's just start with the primary question, and that question is: what do the wins by Pogacar? I've been the one that's been Pogacar and Bernal. What do those wins say about the value of youth versus experience when it comes to racing? So what are your guys' thoughts on that? You've got Pogacar, whose birthday is today as we record.
22.
22 years old today.
Okay.
And Bernal won it last year when he was 22.
22. Yeah.
22.
Pogacar is the youngest since 1904. 1994, I believe.
It was early in the.
It was like the
1900s.
second Tour de France, I believe.
So,
yeah.
very, very young guys who came out and they won this without a lot of experience. I think it was Pogačar's first tour. Was it his first?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and Bernal, it was his second, if I'm not mistaken. That's not a lot of experience. And you've got two guys that came out and, well, Pogačar, I think, just absolutely like decimated everybody in that time trial. And he, God, what would have happened if he had not had that mechanical? How different of a race would we have had if he didn't have that mechanical
Tack
on
on
stage?
45 seconds. I mean, that's what it was.
But,
so
yeah.
it would have been a different race because he would have been in yellow potentially a little bit longer.
Roglic would have had to be the aggressor.
Yeah, so it could have made things a little bit different.
Would have
But
been. It might have been a more interesting race actually. In some ways.
It could have been even more
I think it was
interesting.
it was like almost a foregone conclusion that Jumbo-Visma and Roglic were going to be the victors here, and Pogačar, though we've talked about it a few times as well, was just clawing back, and doing what he could to close up those time gaps.
Awesome race,
So-
God! It's just
And,
and
you
the
know-
stages were great set up too.
Yeah.
Like good on the tour for coming up with great stages.
What's up, Lance?
My take on it is that clearly Pogačar has some kind of superior physiology. Okay, either he's got
Strange.
It's some kind of VO2 or something strange.
Well, one of the knocks on him was he's extremely light, right? And
Right.
he's like
For his
he's
height.
just a pure climber,
For his
and
height,
I think we even talked about that. Like he's probably not going to be a good GC guy because he's too light. He's just a climber, like he's just one trick pony.
But
that's not the case.
The more I looked at him, he may be light, but look at his legs. He's got time trialist legs. Like if you
But-
really look at that guy's physique, you know.
But
it's-
what if
yeah.
it wasn't an uphill time trial? What if it was a flatter, normal,
I
more
still
typical?
think he would have gotten it because he was actually putting a time into Roglic on the flats.
Yeah, he was. It kind of looked like he had researched the course better.
Sorry.
That's okay.
He beat Roglic in the Slovenian national time trial.
Which was a
Right.
short time trial. It was a short
It was
time
only
trial.
he only beat him by like 9 seconds or something, but he did
it was
beat
short.
him.
Yeah. So I think what this shows is historically the adage has been to win the Tour, you need to have experience under you. You need to be older. You need to have gotten your battle scars.
That's not true.
I kind of agree with you, Lance. Is actually I think what we're seeing is that kind of a throwing all caution to the wind and just racing the Tour without fear. You know, like a young dumb idiot does.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're racing an Ironman, and then it's definitely not. But I think in the Tour, you're looking at a guy like Pogačar. Lance, I completely agree with you. I think when we look back to so I know Jan Bernal talked about something that made Lance Armstrong amazing was not his VO2 max. His VO2 max was very normal for elite level cyclist.
Lance?
Yeah.
No.
He had like an 86, which so we're talking about there have been Norwegian cyclists that are in the low 90s.
He's got one of the highest recorded VO2 maxes on record,
I
doesn't
think
he?
Le Mans has a higher VO2
Le Mans,
max. Was like
Enduron,
90. all those guys were
all,
higher.
all those guys of that era were higher than Lance. So Lance was average for the elite of that group, of the most elite. If you look at all the pros, yes, of
Or
course, he
like
had a great VO2.
average for a tour winner.
For a tour winner, yeah.
He was in range for
what
sure.
What made Lance different was his lactate threshold recovery. So the guy's ability to reproduce 3-minute efforts over and over and over again was otherworldly. I think when you look at Pogačar, I bet he has a very similar physiology in the sense that to win the Tour, what I'm realizing is, obviously you need your ticket into the party, which is your VO2 max.
Yeah.
You need your ticket into the party, which is massive volume underneath you. But I think that little bit that separates a guy like Roglic and Pogačar from maybe a Quintana is the ability to lactate threshold recovery at another level.
Can we press pause on this? Because I totally forgot about this until you said Quintana's name. Did you hear the news that came out this morning?
No.
His room was raided by the French police.
Oh, my gosh.
On Sunday, or it was over the weekend. And it was him and like his brother.
brother? Yeah.
It's all still pending. They have not released any information, but he was raided. It wasn't the entire team. It was specifically him.
Oh,
did you guys read about this?
2 arrested. No.
Colombia can't take that.
Who was arrested?
He's a hero in Colombia. They cannot take that. Oh.
I totally forgot about that until right now.
Champ Bailey. Where's Champ Bailey?
Champ, what happened?
On vacation.
Champ already left the RV. He's out of the
Gotcha.
Dude.
So More news to come on that later.
It was just more.
If we get any updates on this while we're doing the podcast, we'll chime out there. But anyway, going back to what you were saying.
One of the most relatable things I saw recently is they were talking about why middle-aged cyclists love the Tour de France. Is they said it's the Bachelor for cyclists. They're like the Tour de France is the most drama-filled 3 weeks in the sporting calendar, and they're like it's just the Bachelor for 3 weeks, basically.
That's funny.
Talk about
that is
drama.
crazy.
Roglic and Bernal had all the pressure going into this. They were the two favorites. So all the stress and that comes from having all that pressure to perform, and Pogačar had none of it. He was just, this is my first tour. Whatever happens, happens. I'm here for Fabio Aru, who crashed out early. So I'm not even here for me. I'm here for him,
this is a seriously dumb question. Was Pogačar actually not the one jersey?
No.
He was not.
He was not the one jersey.
Wait.
No, I think Egan
was
Bernal
it Fabio?
was.
No, for
Bernal was
UAE.
Oh, no, for UAE. Was it Fabio?
I think he was going to be their GC guy.
Is that the greatest misallocation in Tour de France leadership in like the last few years?
Well,
I could be wrong about the number.
I know. But you're going from Fabio Aru's performance to Pogačar, and the team had decided Fabio Aru was going to be the leader.
It seems like a pretty consistent thing now that you kind of go into it with like a plan A and a plan B, or you've got two people that could potentially be your guy, and all right, whoever's going to be the guy, then we'll support him. But
what a tour for UAE. Going into this tour, I'm sure they were like, oh God, this is, we're just going to mark this year off. Sure, Fabio, you want the leadership? Okay, let's just give it to him. We'll get a top 15 out of it, maybe.
Won the first stage.
We'll call it a day.
Won the last stage. And a couple in between. So
they had one heck of a tour. I mean, especially for they had 3 guys drop out, right?
So let's get back to the question at hand, though. Yeah. What is your guys' thoughts on youth versus experience? Where if you had to go out and design a team, you had a budget and you're going to put something together, how many eggs are you going to put in which basket? Which direction are you going to go? Are you going to go more with experience? Or are you going to go more with that youth play?
I think Lance nailed it right way. My GC guy, I want him to be pretty close, if not just before what would be considered his prime of his career. So,
but you're always guessing about who that is.
You are, yeah. I mean, you definitely are. But then on that same team, I want 1 or 2 Gs. I need a G, and I need like a Jans Voigt. I need 2 road captains on that team. I need guys that can kind of corral the young guys.
Yep.
Because that's what Ineos didn't have this year.
Exactly. And that was going to be my play on this question as well. Is like you need to have mentorship. You can have that youth, but you need mentorship. I mean, what if Geraint was there and he was, in good form and he was able to keep up? Yeah. How would things have played out differently? Would the tactics have played out differently? Would he have shepherded Bernal a little bit differently than the way that he was managed? And could that have played out differently? Well, to answer that question is look at the year before. That I mean, not to say that it would have been perfect, because if he did have a back injury and that was really what thwarted his abilities here, I mean, I can't say that it was or wasn't, but that, I don't know. I just think that mentorship is absolutely critical. Like if you have a team made up of all young people without someone that's been there and kind of can shepherd them through this whole thing, I think that's just not going to end well generally.
And looking at when Pogačar was in the last selection for a lot of these mountain stages, quite a few times the last guy with him was David de la Cruz, who has ridden for Edix Quickstep, now rides for UAE. He's 31 years old, is a grizzled mountain rider. I mean, a great climber. Sure. And you look at how UAE structured their team this year was talented Rolliers, Fabio, Pogačar, and David de la Cruz.
Sure.
So you look at that, you swung and missed on Aru's gone. Yep. But then you have your really talented young guy who all of a sudden is having a great race, and like you said, Lance, is maybe not even stressed about. So you're like, he's just going to be at the front doing everything he can, attacking each day without thinking about the next days. But you have David de la Cruz with him in those last selections to make sure maybe in moments, I mean, Pogačar seemed like a cool cucumber and was smart, but we don't know. Maybe there were moments where Pogačar's like, I'm going to attack now. And De La Cruz holds him and is like, no. We follow Visma. We do, you're not going to break away from Tommy D and Sepp right now. So we let them control the pace.
This is like complete guessing, right? We have no idea.
Absolutely.
I feel like Ineos has people on their team, but it's hard to know who are leaders that are willing to be like, no, don't attack now. or
Who's
if
just a
they're
strong rider.
experienced riders and they're just quiet and they're just like, well, I don't know, like, you know. So they have Kwiatkowski on Ineos. He's been on that team for like 5 or 6
a
years.
great leader. Yeah.
Is he a leader? I don't know.
That's true. We really don't. I mean, he's one of the fastest cyclists.
Is he
in the world,
telling?
but we don't know.
Would he tell Bernal like not today? Today's not the day. You need to chill out.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think we know unless you're on the team and you kind of see the team dynamics and you see who's a good team leader. We would think Geraint Thomas would be like a big leader, but yeah, probably he would seem like he would be pretty.
So
pretty powerful.
the second question here, let's better define what basically constitutes youth versus experience. So the question being is, when do humans reach their physical and mental peaks?
26 or 27 for
Agreed.
these tour riders.
51.
How old am I? 30. There you go.
Yeah. No, it's like you hear a 30-year-old rider and you start to think, okay, well, he's older, you know, when you're talking about tour riders.
Yeah.
And when you hear 24, you're like, that's a younger rider. But it's that sweet spot is like 26, 27, kind of late 20s where you have experience and you have theoretically you still have a lot of power and capability to sprint and you have those fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yep. I think you see that across a lot of sports, football, baseball, basketball. I mean, you're going to see that because you've got a little bit of that seasoning. You're hitting your max, your peak for your strength. That's when your testosterone levels are really peaking, and you still have the ability to recover.
Well, I think your testosterone is probably peaking even younger than that, probably 18 to 22. But you don't have the experience.
You're reaping the max benefits of the years that you were training and having.
Yeah, because testosterone has a lot more to do too with actual musculoskeletal development. So even though you may be having peak levels of available free testosterone through those early, late teen, early 20s years, you're
generally
reaping the
speaking, though,
benefits
that's where it starts to kind of taper off and it starts to like decline.
And this is why training with testosterone is so beneficial through the doping era. If you I
got to get hooked up, man.
I know. Well, I mean, it's like we talk about. It's not that EPO is beneficial to if you took it the night before a race.
Right.
It's
training
a year of training under EPO or a year of training on testosterone.
We always keep some EPO in the fridge here at the lab.
We always do.
And
the French government's going to raid our fridge, and us and Naro are going to be going to doping jail together. Is there a doping jail? Is there like like in France? Like I feel like the Tour de France they arrest riders all the time for this. Like the Cofidis thing. Was it like they didn't bring him to like the general clinker, right? It was like you're going to doping jail.
You're going to doping jail.
Yeah. It's like no trainers.
They have like IVs and the tubes just go nowhere and you just look at it and you're like, I can't get that in my arm. That's the jail.
Okay, so we talked about the physical part about it. What about the mental peaks? Anybody have any?
This is where though I think Lance makes a good point is so like mental peaks. I think how I want to look at that is when are you most mentally primed to perform well athletically?
51.
51.
I'm going to combat that. I actually think this is where ignorance can be bliss a little bit.
I agree.
I think
that's why I'm such a happy person.
I mean, think about kids in career.
Yep.
Sure.
Kids in career, cortisol can kind of wear down a lot of the system over the years. I do not believe that like a 35-year-old is like primed for peak athletic performance. In some people it can be.
Sure.
But I think if you are like 23, 24, 25 and like life hasn't kicked you in the spot yet.
Yep.
The nether region, yep.
Yeah.
Well,
then I think is actually when you're more mentally primed to really go after something.
You see this in like science and all these different things, like that creativity is all peaking way younger.
Oh yeah,
like
neuroplasticity is huge at those ages.
Well, and
even younger.
You haven't been kicked in the whatever.
In the face, yeah.
It's like you're not going to take those. You're not going to take those huge risks with your career when you're 40 years old.
You're
like, no, we don't do that because we haven't done that.
Yeah, I reference this book way too much on this podcast, but in Indoor, Alex Hutchinson talks about how there's that what blocks, what creates limits for us.
Right.
A lot of the time, it is past experience and how that felt. So our body creates limiters by past experience, neurologically, really subconsciously from what we believe. There's a good point that. Maybe Pogačar said after 2 of those stages that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Maybe that's he hadn't done anything.
He went out and did something harder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he hadn't done anything like that yet. Maybe 32-year-old Pogačar doesn't
take those risks.
Doesn't follow Roglic when Roglic attacked him. When Roglic attacked and then kind of dropped him, but he only lost like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe 32-year-old Pogacar's like, that hurts so bad in the past. I can't do that.
Like it's not smart for me to go.
Yeah.
Like you overthink it a little bit.
He
where you're
does,
like,
yeah.
No, stay conservative
Yeah.
for tomorrow and the next day. And wait, the
Yeah.
stage is over after that.
So
it's like
maybe
that whole-
those moments are where it's decided.
Maybe.
Those real small moments mentally as a peak performer. So when you're 21, you're not thinking, oh man, on day 20 this is going to hurt if on day 16 I go. On day 16, if you're 21, you're thinking Roglic is going. Yeah. I'm going.
Maybe.
Like, I'm
and
following
it's
him.
hard to say like when those times are beneficial and when they're negative, because maybe nine
He
times
could
out of
have
10 they're typically negative, right? Where it's like the old person knows better because they've done it.
Yeah.
And sometimes ignorance is bliss.
That 1 out of 10 times.
Yeah, but that almost, if you start to take that approach, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw out, just because we were just talking about Quintana. They've always said, oh, he'll get him tomorrow, or the stage is coming up, or we're gonna go into these mountains. He's gonna get him there. Never does.
That was my approach with him going into this tour. I was like,
this is it.
Quintana's done it. This is it. He's got it.
Wait. Should we decide who won and who lost? I think I lost officially.
I lost.
For the
who won though? Did we all lose?
So there was the podcast
We had
fantasy
our bets.
pool.
Yeah.
And
we had the fantasy pool, but that's different than the actual podcast predictions.
And we all did amazingly terrible.
I can pull this up.
There were 9 people in our podcast pool because we opened it up to other people.
But this is the fantasy pool. Yeah.
This is the fantasy pool, the fantasy Tour de France pool. Jake took second.
Ooh,
he lost to
nice.
Carlos.
Yeah,
Carlos
I needed
won.
2 more days of the.
Good job, Carlos.
Yeah, 2 more days of racing, and I think I could have got him.
Third place was Cassie. Go Cassie.
Nice.
Fourth place was Mike Reddig.
Nice.
Fifth, I was fifth. Lance Hepler at fifth. Sixth was Kit Hunders. I don't know who that is. Seventh was DJ Cliff, our friend Cliff.
Cliff.
Evan, you were eighth, and Matt, unfortunately, were.
Yes.
Nice work.
I thought for sure I was going to be dead last.
So,
thank God.
Right.
Going back to our picks here on the podcast, just for our
This is
podium.
this is what counts, guys.
So we had Matt, and Matt had taken Egan Bernal, did not finish.
Okay.
Bardet
Did not finish.
did not finish.
Did
And
not finish.
Roglic in third. So that would
Okay.
be his.
So I was one off. Roglic finished second.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So then we'll go over to Matt, or not Matt, but Lance. And Lance took Primos, got second, took Bernal, and took Pinot.
Pinot
Pino
finished.
Pino was like 30th or something like that.
If not even further. He finished, 2 hours back or something like that? But he still finished, right?
He did
All right.
finish.
Evan took Quintana. He took Primos second, and he took Mike Woods third. Didn't even race in the Tour.
But
Mike got a pretty good tour.
But Evan's picks are not any better or worse than any of the rest of ours because he got Roglic spot on, and I mean that's
Except
all of us.
Quintana's about to go to jail.
Yeah,
That's true.
And then I took Primos in first. I had Bernal in second, didn't finish, and Quintana. So I guess the $1 million question is
I think we all
who
failed
finished
on that
higher?
one.
Was it Pinot or was it Quintana?
Quintana.
Quintana was like
Quintana, but
10th or 11th.
But if he goes to jail, then Evan immediately has to buy us all drinks.
Actually, I'll take it. If he
goes to jail?
If Quintana's going to jail, drinks are on me next podcast.
We all
Yeah.
buying sparkly waters for us.
So I don't know. How do we determine the winner here? Because I had
It all comes down to if
Primos.
Quintana goes to jail.
Primos first and Quintana third.
I don't.
Yeah,
think,
because
I
even
don't
for
think
Jake's
there's-
third spot, it'll be if Quintana goes to jail or not.
I don't think any of us. I don't think it's clear that any of us were winners or losers. I had Roglic third, which is one off of the second place where he finished. All of my other guys didn't even finish. I think we all lost on the podium.
Losers across the table. Then we'll take that.
Well, and then
Did Lance technically win though? I'm trying to do the math in my head.
But then we could fall back to the our fantasy league, which means Jake won.
That's true.
I think that's what we should do. I think we
Yeah.
should fall back to the fantasy league if our real podcast picks are a wash. So I think Jake won, and I'm the official loser, which means I buy drinks. I buy the next case of water, and Jake has. We have to watch Jake pour it all over his
That's probably
head,
right.
like a
Yep.
victory
Yeah.
style.
Exactly. Yep.
And then if Quintana goes to jail, I have to bring Fit Aids next time.
That's true.
There we go.
That seems fair.
You got to bring whatever he gets popped for, right?
Oh,
No, we already have that in the fridge. So no.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So back to this guy again. Let's. we already talked about the mental peaking. Are we done with that part of the question?
I think so, yeah.
I think we correctly answered that. Yeah. Thank you, Sean.
The last part of this question from Sean was, what is the relative importance of those two factors in cycling and other sports? So I guess you could say the youth versus experience. How important, how relevant are those?
Oh, I was going to wonder if he was more pointing to what's more important, mentally your peak or physically your peak in terms of performance.
No, we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
We can maybe hit both. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to say. I mean, I think it's hard because we're looking at like these two outliers, which are, the most recent winners in the Tour that were very young. And I think that we're going to weight that more because they're kind of this weird outlier piece of things that have just happened and it's fresh on our mind.
Because like next year, G could go out there and win, and we'll be like, you know what? I think experience is really what
we're going to come back.
What brings about Tour de France victories.
Was it Chris Horn that won at like 40?
Chris Horner. The Giro.
Yeah, I don't think
on a stage that
he's calling in. Chris
Horner's calling.
I'm going to call when he answers the phone.
Also,
I'm going to call him out and be like, "You are on drugs, sir."
The greatest mystery race of all time was when he dropped Vincenzo Nibali on that Giro climb. I believe it was the Stelvio that year when it was snowing, and they cut out the feed.
Oh.
And Chris had so Vincenzo had attacked Chris. The feed cut out. The feed came back. Chris had caught Vincenzo, and then Chris drops Vincenzo as the feed cuts out again. It's one of the greatest mystery stages of all time. Like nobody knows what happened. It was great.
I'm not a huge fan of his. I don't know how you feel.
Chris Horner. I've never met him. I'm sure.
He does a lot of announcing now, so you'll get the opportunity to
true.
hear him
Listen
chat
to him.
in the future.
He lived in Bend for a number of years too.
Yeah.
Did he live in Bend? Oh, nice. Oh, I actually think I remember that because when I was doing a ride around Bend, I looked at a couple KOM lists. And that was a few tens of minutes off of his segment times.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think when you're talking about like the importance of physical versus mental peak, God, you think the mental would be more important over a Tour de. Well, I don't know. I mean, they're obviously crucially important, but when you're talking about physical, the differences are so minute at that very top level among a guy like Quintana versus Bernal versus Pinot. Physically, they're all freaks. I mean, they're all just another planet physically, even compared to their counterparts. So I really do think it's the mental approach to that race and just the preparation that is, which I think preparation goes under mental. But
yeah,
I think.
Go ahead, Lance.
I think that the professional athletes across whatever sport you are, the ranks are littered with people that have the physical peaks, whether that's young or old. They are at the physical peak of whatever they are. The champions are the ones that also have the mental part.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Yeah, I like that.
I agree. And it's hard because it's hard to see those hundreds of athletes that are physically good and they're young and whatever, but they don't have the experience and they don't have the mental piece of the puzzle primed. We don't even see them. We just see the Pogacar, and I nailed the pronunciation of his last name.
Gotcha.
So
Shut up, Lance.
I know that I kind of put a lot of weight behind the fact that maybe Ineos didn't have the mentorship. All of these teams have team directors. All of these people, all of these teams have lots of people sitting behind.
Brailsford's got some experience.
A little bit, just a little bit, right? Sir Brailsford. So much experience. It's Sir Brailsford. So you still have somebody there to mentor you. They're just not in the actual throes of the moment with you, and maybe they're not seeing some of the dynamics. But at the end of the day, I mean, you are going to have a little bit of that, that mental development, that little, whether it be from your personal experiences or from the experiences that you're drawing from other people that have been there, done that, and know the drill. Like Brailsford, example, he's walked Bradley Wiggins through it, Chris Froome, Garrett Thomas, and he's walked Bernal through it as well. So
if there's anything that guy has is experience.
Yes.
He might be a little on the crass side, but at the end of the day, he knows his stuff. So it's not like Bernal was just out there blindly trying to figure out what to do. I mean, or Ineos in general. So a little bit of that, I don't know, that mental factor is being imparted on you by your manager or your director.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and this is where we go back to the physical capacity. I know VO2 max is brought up frequently. I feel like, especially in cycling, cross country skiing too. That's a number that they really like to look at is VO2 max, especially cross country skiing.
Running,
and running too. But I feel like in running, it's more. I think run economy is widely accepted, at least from people who have done these tests and look at them. Because I worked around a lab before, and you kind of know that in running, there's a good example is Galen Rupp has a not very high VO2 max.
Oh, does he not?
No, he I think was. I'm gonna get this wrong.
Probably he's got to be over 80.
No. He's actually surprisingly low. Now there's a lot that goes into that testing.
Sure.
But with cyclists, it's this number that's almost worn as a badge because cycling's always about just like pushing to your absolute limit.
Right, that's true. It's a different sport than running. It's very different.
I'll give an example because there's a lot of like Norwegians who have tested very high in VO2 max testing. And there's a lot of debate on the lab that they test in, the accuracy of these numbers. But when we're talking about physical capacity, this is my point to the fact that I think mentally is what makes the difference at these very top levels, like you guys were just talking about in preparation, is in 2012, there was an 18-year-old named Oscar Svensson who tested almost 98 milliliters per kilogram per minute, which is an absurdly high number, the highest ever recorded.
That's weird.
He was 18 at that time. He was an untrained 15-year-old who tested 76 before, which is crazy to think untrained testing 76.
Wow. Did they switch him into cross-country skiing? Is that what they...
I think at that age he was a cross-country skier, then switched to cycling and was the Norwegian national champ for the juniors in the time trial.
Okay.
Since then, that was 2012. Has anybody heard any results from Oscar Svensson?
Right.
No, he washed out.
Yeah. So
He, quit.
Yeah, you're talking about. I mean, when we're talking about physical capacity, I really can't imagine a cyclist with much more physical capacity than a former cross-country skier who's blown a 98 almost. In a lab. Regardless of if you want to say, oh, that lab was accurate or not. Let's say it was a 92. Okay, whatever. That's still insane. Greg LeMond level of VO2 max. Yep. So you're talking about what's the difference between Greg LeMond and Oscar Svensson? Mental.
Absolutely.
Physically, I mean, I don't see much of a difference there. They both can blow a whole lot of oxygen through their system and probably buffer lactate like it's their job.
Right.
So, I mean, you look at that, it's Greg LeMond as, oh God, I can't believe I'm even saying this. Greg LeMond clearly committed to a very good training plan and had a great career. And
he did, and he was tough.
Won some
things. Very good, Evan. Did that hurt to say?
He loved the sport.
It hurt to say. It really did hurt to say.
I think he loved the sport, and I still think that he loves the sport in a different way than you.
His voice is very annoying, but he does love the sport. So his voice, presence, and essence is annoying, but that's
I kind of like him.
You like him?
Oh, especially all the old race stuff. I mean,
God, I don't like him at all.
Okay. All right.
How do you and John Hoffman get along?
We don't at all. Me and John hate each other. It's good. Me and John
loves Lamont.
John talked to me once. We were talking about the Move podcast.
Yeah.
Me and Cassie just religiously watch the Move. We love Lance and George. It's just great. And John tells me, he's like, I can't listen to it just because Lance's voice is just annoying. I'm like, are you kidding me? Lance is oh God, it just. How can you listen to Greg LeMond talk and be like, yeah, I'm okay with that, and then listen to Lance talk and be like, no, that's too annoying. John, I need an answer. I need an answer, John.
He needs to come on the podcast. He would be great to have here as well.
I keep on asking him. He's like, nah, I don't think I'd be good. I'm like, he'd be way more interesting than me or Matt.
He'll be fun. We'll do it.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else you guys want to chime in on this with? No? I think we should go into one last thing because we're really deep into this one. Yeah. I thought last week was long.
All right. We need to start tidying these things up a little bit.
I know. We need to do these at 90 minutes.
We might still keep it under last week, but these are getting a little on the long side. One last thing, Lance, I'm going to start with you in case we lose you for some reason. So go.
My one last thing is I'm just going to stay away from the West Coast for a while. I don't know. I got nothing to say.
We will miss you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The West Coast will miss you.
My riding buddy, man, he's gone.
Gone forever.
Well, we hope you and Brandy and Piper have good, safe travels. So, cool. Mr. LeGrand, one last thing.
I posted a video this past week, and it was something along the lines of like, you should start a YouTube channel today. And it has not been a popular video.
Oh, no.
Which is fine. But what's really interesting is it might be one of the most rewarding videos that I've posted because I've had a couple of people start channels
Really?
Because of that
really?
video. Like, really rewarding to see someone like start up a video, and this is only a couple, but like a couple people were like, I started this video, they're like, this guy that I follow on YouTube said I should start a channel, and I'm doing it right now. And they say that in their first video on YouTube.
That's spectacular.
And I'm like, wow, this is so cool to have any sort of positive influence.
Yep.
We'll say it's positive. I don't know if it is, but like have some people just start something because they saw a video and they were even slightly inspired to go ahead and make that next step.
I even like thought about it for a minute after. I may think about it even more here coming up.
Well, you've got a lot of cool things that you do.
I wouldn't
that
say
people would
that, but I could make a video or two on my phone.
Yeah.
I could try.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's important
Yeah.
to be like, if you want to start, because you can put that off forever, or you can start and you will get better as you go.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to do it, it's cool. It's just and I say this in the video, like, your first video is not going to be your best video. Your first video is probably going to be your worst video.
Yeah.
And so just start. And then, if you stick to somewhat of a schedule, you're going to have like a following, and you're going to have a fun time doing it, and you're going to learn a lot along the process. So it's been a good experience for me, and I would encourage other people to consider starting a channel.
Now, I'm sure you don't know off the top of your head
Sure.
what their channel might be, but is that something maybe you can kick over to us so that we can watch it ourselves and maybe even possibly share it?
The couple people that started channels?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
That'd
I
be
have
fantastic.
Yeah, I can send you the links for that if we want to share it in the
Cool.
show notes or something.
I think we should. Any of them good? Have you watched the videos?
I mean,
I know that they're
absolutely.
going to probably be a little rough around the edges,
Yes.
but you can still find value in just about anything. So.
Well, here's the thing is, I think the tactic, one of them is very good, and there's been a couple of them. One of them is very good, a guy running a cross-country race, which is super cool.
Oh, nice.
He is from Czechoslovakia, I think. And then another guy from the U.S., lighting and stuff like that's all rough, and it's just, him talking to his phone and things like that. So, like, very rough, but it's like, hey, he started, he has a huge challenge in front of him that he's put forth. And it's, you just kind of can see like, okay, it's going to take some work. And I think just some little tweaks are going to make a huge difference, like lighting, right? Like little things like that. Having the camera, level with your face and things like that. All these little things, but those are just details. The fact that he started is the big thing.
And you have like 200 examples from the UK, right? Which is where you're big.
200,
So
roughly.
Yeah.
There was someone
that's partially famous in Britain.
Yeah, there was another guy that sent me this, his stuff that he had started, and I was blown away.
Really?
It was, I think you'll really like this one because it was a lot of bike footage and stuff like that, and it was just done on a GoPro, and you could just tell like he gets it, he understands that. Like he even said this in the messages. He's like, I'm inspired by your transitions and blah blah blah, and like you could even see like he's doing these cool transitions and he's doing all of this bike footage, and the music that he uses is gorgeous. And I told him, I was like, I'm getting lost on your channel, like when you only have a couple of videos out. Like this is gonna, I said, if you want to do this, you're gonna be successful. So I hope he does, and it is a huge time commitment.
That's
but
pretty cool.
At the same time, it's a skill that you learn, and even if you're just like, I'm going to post a couple things to YouTube and I'm going to post a couple things to Instagram, it's a cool skill set to have that I think anyone can do. So
yeah,
cool.
Anyway,
good on you, Matt.
We'll post links to some show notes, and you guys can check it out.
Cool.
Yep.
Mr. Evan, one last thing.
I'm gonna take it pretty easy this week.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Next week, I'm going to start training I'm going to try a time trial 5K on the track here in the next 2 months, probably.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yep. This week, I'm just doing whatever I want. I don't know. No clue. Going to work a lot. That's probably about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work's killing us.
Ride bikes.
Ride bikes. Yeah.
Cool. My one last thing is that we have kind of already started a little bit, but the Bikes for Kids stuff is kicking off.
Wow.
So the 2020 edition to put kids on bikes for 2021 has kind of softly officially started with a couple different things. There's a connection that we're working on with the Vancouver Bicycle Club. They are great, and they were very generous sponsors of us last year. So looking forward to working with them. And then we're also doing a little deal with a local coffee company, a new coffee company, Tangent Roasters. They actually roast coffee beans and are selling bags of coffee, and we are going to partner up with them and help them.
I'm going to buy so much coffee from those guys.
So they're actually going to be supplying coffee for us, fresh made coffee down here at the lab, and we will actually be offering that, and the proceeds from that will go towards Dialed Cycling that we will earmark all of the proceeds, all the net proceeds will go towards I think we're going to kind of split it a little bit to a certain degree, but a chunk of it's going to go towards Bikes for Kids, and the other chunk of it's going to go into our juniors program, which is going to be pretty cool. So we're going to be supporting kids in our juniors program, as well as kids that are underprivileged that we're going to get riding bikes and helmets.
It'd be cool to have like some little coffee bags with like Dialed logo on it or something.
It's going to be white labeled.
Really?
So we're going to have some of that stuff. So stay tuned for some of that stuff. And I've tried some of their coffees. Pretty good stuff.
They have a decaf?
Good question. I can't answer that one. I don't know.
I need it because I'm got some health stuff. I need to stay away from the caffeine. So
yeah, Evan and I will drink all of your caffeine.
There you go.
I'll take in all the caffeine today for you. Yeah, don't worry.
So kind of excited about that. And then our actual big ugly Christmas sweater ride that we'll do for
a date?
December 5th.
Okay.
That'll be the first Saturday in December. We will do the ugly Christmas sweater ride, and
I love that ride.
Might, depending upon where we're at with all COVID things, we're still going to do the ride regardless. It might be something where we just have to really pace ourselves out, and maybe we'll just have to have the best Christmas buff contest in there as well. But we
Christmas buff, and you got to attack from the start.
Ugly
so that we
Christmas,
break up into groups.
Ugly Christmas buff.
Well, and sweater.
Ugly Christmas mask.
Yeah, there you go.
That's gonna be a thing this year. I
Yeah.
bet you.
Oh, it's 100%.
I should totally start a website right now and just sell ugly Christmas masks. I don't have to make them. Eventually, that'll just happen.
There you go.
That's gonna be
Just
huge.
take ugly sweaters, cut them up.
It's
and turn
such a
them into
good
masks.
idea.
There
You
go.
would crush.
Make some money, man.
Yeah.
Make some of that internet money.
Some of that Google money.
Some of that Google money.
Really looking forward to that stuff coming up. I'm really looking forward to putting these kids on bikes. And just for another update in terms of what happened with our 2020 Bikes for Kids campaign, we raised a lot of money, and we still have not delivered those bikes. So we have a lot of money still sitting in the bank account. And what happened was we just couldn't put together an event for these kids. And add to that Cannondale just did not have kids bikes. So it's going to be like this big extravaganza, like double the bikes kind of thing. So we're looking to match the money that we already have, which I think is like $7,000. I think I have to go check the bank accounts.
Nice.
So we want to try and match that and beat it if we possibly can. And
we're going to crush it this year.
We're just going to deliver that many more bikes. I've been speaking with Cliff about working with some of the inner city folks over there in the Portland area and supporting them. And then there's probably going to be a few other things that come up. So we're going to make sure that we get a lot of kids on bikes this year.
Yeah.
Should be awesome. Yeah. I'm excited about that. So anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Thanks for having us.
Dial Podcast out.
Dial Podcast out.
We thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. Bye for now.